Shalom, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. I am Sister Kate, and this is Sister Kate Shofar Mountain. I am tidying myself up. I did look in the mirror, but I always notice stuff when I'm filming. So you'll see me, just trying to get this thing not to look quite so irregular. Anyway, what has been going on? Well, I did the Keeping It Dutch video. I still I don't know what he decided. And if you guys follow Keeping It Dutch and you know what he decided, please let me know. I'm sure I didn't win because I don't know that I met all his parameters. But I would like to know who won. I've been traveling, as you guys noticed in some of my other videos lately. I would see my grandbabies, and that was a hoot. And my daughter was directing a play, and I wanted to see that. The complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. It's a comedy. And her high school students did a pretty good job with it. So now we're back, and this morning for breakfast we had our eggs, and I had all sorts of things in the eggs from the garden. We found our mustard plants survived despite the fact that their area last year was just so weeded over. I was afraid they didn't make it because it used to be just the walking onions and the mustard in that bed. But we found some plants, and so I picked a few leaves and had them, and I also picked some leaves off the turnip plants that came up. And I'm just astounded because, again, I planted those last year in the heat of summer and nothing came up, so I just assumed the seeds were bad, and they wintered over and then came up. So I'm really excited about them being here. I love to cook with turnip greens. And what else did I put in there? I put mint, I put dill, I put chives, I put sage, because all of those are spices that are growing in the garden. So updating. I've done many of these videos on the list that I wrote down, and I was sort of holding off on the teaching children Torah. Teaching children Torah, yes. I was holding off on that because I was working on something. And I've had two ideas about this. And so I'm going to show you the one, but I haven't been able to carry out the other. But my suggestion to you, if you're trying to teach your children Torah, is use the Bible. Duh. Now, I know that sounds really simple and whatnot, but there are amazing things in the first 5 books of the Bible. There's adventure, and there's sadness, and there's happiness, and there's growth, and it covers a lot of stories. So you can use Noah's Ark, and you can use Exodus. You can have your own desert and have them wandering around and have all the locations and have little figurines that set up, put little tents up and have camels. You can do all kinds of things with it. And there's a homeschooling series. It's older, and it was like this big thick book, and I think she did 3 of them, called 5 in a Row. And it was for younger kids, but what I liked about that book was her suggestions could be upgraded to older kids. And basically, like on Monday it's the math day, and Tuesday it's the English day, and Wednesday it's the history day, and you read books, and then you find the math and the history and the English and so on in the books. And if there's science, then you do a science experiment on Science Day, and then the end of the week is review and whatever. So if you're homeschooling, I suggest you get that book. But the Bible has so much going on in it, and there are cartoons and movies that cover some of the things that are in the Torah. And there are online, if you just put in there like toys for Jewish children or something along those lines, or feast day toys or anything, you're going to find lots of resources online for that. And my particular take on it was, I know kids like to have an alphabet on their refrigerator, and you show them letters and you show them words, and sometimes people have little magnets with figurines. Well, I actually was inspired by the neo-hermetess, because she does paintings, and her paintings are not biblical. That is not her genre. But her painting in general kind of inspired me, because I like doing crafts and arts and stuff. And so I tried my hand at painting. And the first things I did, because I did take some photography classes, or not photography, drawing classes in college, was take a picture of some of the flowers on Shofar and then try to paint from the pictures. And I have those magnets on my refrigerator. And then after I'd done about 5 or 6 of those, I decided I was going to try doing something from the Bible on a refrigerator magnet. And so I chose Jericho, and the way I'm trying to do these paintings, and they're not great, is sort of in that medieval style where everything is, a building is represented by maybe just a wall, or they make the building small, even though in reality the building would be really big. And then if there are a lot of people, they just line the people up with their faces right next to each other instead of like having a big crowd scene. So that's the style I tried to do these things in, and I chose Jericho. So I'm going to show you the first one, and this is Jericho, the wall, and there's Rahab, and there is a little teeny cord out there, and then these are the 2 spies, the Hebrew spies. And I got the idea for how they look from Egyptian hieroglyphs and paintings of Hebrews. They depicted them very similar to this. They had long hair and no shirt on, and like a skirt with a fringe on it. So that's where I got that idea. So that's the walls of Jericho. And then the next one I did on a bigger canvas because I didn't have the little magnet, but I get the little magnets at China Mart. And this one is the priests marching around Jericho. So I tried to make the tower basically the same shape and colors. And then there are the priests blowing shofars. These are the stone throwers. You can see the Ark of the Covenant in the background. I'm trying to point at it. There we go. Ark of the Covenant with some priests carrying it, and then more soldiers, some of them with spears. And they're marching around the 7 times, and there's a little pathway. So that one's a little bit bigger. And then the third in this series is Rahab climbing out of the fallen down wall. And that's her mother next to her, and these are the rocks, and she's like stepping over the fallen down wall, and that little thing in the background is her family's home. It's the only building standing after the Hebrews bring the walls down. The Lord brings the walls down. Hers is the only one standing. And if you go online, there are archaeologists who examined what they think are the ruins of Jericho, and found like 7 cities worth of walls all stacked up, and about the middle of like the 3rd city or the 4th, they find signs of major destruction of the walls. They look like they were burnt with fire, and they definitely were all tumbled to the ground, except one little part was not destroyed. So it's just a fascinating story to me. There's archaeological evidence that shows that it did happen, and so I tried to use what knowledge I had and what my daughter taught me to do these pictures. And then I thought if I had my grandchildren there, I could have these on my refrigerator, and if they ask about them, we can show them, and they can move them around if they want to, or play with them in whatever way they want. And then you remember I said I'm not going to sell things on my channel, and I'm not. When I sell something, it will be somewhere else. Maybe just go to our PayPal or something like that. But I did, as a precursor to possibly selling them, I had them copied on an internet page, and they made magnets from one of the paintings. And I took a picture of it, and they came out okay, but I'm not totally satisfied. And my daughter told me I should get them on a square magnet, not on a rectangular magnet. And I did an okay job taking the picture, but it's not quite perfect. So I had some of these made up just so I could see. And it wasn't very expensive. I think 20, I had 25, but I've given a few away, so I've got 23 of them. So if you're interested in something like that, I don't mind sending these to some couple of people because I've got enough of them. But I'm going to try to make this a little bit more better, just a better quality, and then possibly look at selling stuff like that in the future. But for right now, I also just enjoy doing the painting, and I had 6 different ideas done up. So I want to get those painted before I really look into possibly recreating them for other people. So back to the teaching children Torah. That was a whole aside there. This is a kind of thing you could do. All you have to do is think about the stories and then, make felt figures or have them make little clay figures. Or one of the things that the Girl Scouts like to do is take those toilet paper rolls and do things with them. And when we were still making a big deal out of Thanksgiving, I had the children decorate those with like a little styrofoam ball, and we decorated them with paper to look like the pilgrims. So you could do even something as simple as that, or if you have your little Lego figurines, make clothes for them that look more like a Hebraic outfit. There's also some really good Vacation Bible School curriculums that churches order, and about 5 or 10 years ago, the one, and it was the Canadian company. Again, you can Google search this stuff. They put one out every year, and it's pretty big. And this particular year was pretend you're in Jerusalem at the time that Jesus would be walking around, and recreate what Jerusalem might have looked like. And they suggested, have a booth that's selling things like, they said soap would be olive oil with like salt in it that you could rub on your skin, or sugar. Beaded necklaces, just little trinkets that might be for sale on the market there. And what else did they have us do? Like a little temple and a little house, and simple furniture in the house. And so we decorated the foyer of our church, and they had a few little crafts that went with it. You made a sheep by the person pre-cuts the sheep shape, and then clothespins for the legs, and then they were to put the glue in the cotton balls to decorate their little sheep so they can make themselves a flock. Things like that. There's a whole world out there. Just be creative and make it fun. You don't want to make it something like what do they call those places where they train the Islamic kids, the hadrasa or whatever, where they have to sit on the floor and memorize the Quran, and they get beaten if they don't do it. That doesn't inspire people to really love their Lord. Make the things fun and make them active, and be excited about it yourself. That's my suggestions. And if anyone else has any suggestions who's doing homeschooling, please put them in the comments. I'm interested in seeing what you guys think. But definitely, the Bible tells us that we are to teach our children the commandments of Yahweh. And some people put that, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a little tiny silver round thing with a scroll of the 10 Commandments in it on their doorposts. It's interesting too, the Bible says that the husband teaches the family and the children about the tenets of the faith. And so Samuel's mom taught him also. So moms, I'm sure you're probably the ones at home, and so do your best, but your husband ultimately should be like the principal of the house, and he can teach them at the dinner table, or the Bible says like when you go in and out of your gates on different times. It doesn't necessarily have to be dad sitting them all down in a classroom, but he should be the overarching authority there, and should be presenting them tenets of the faith out of his word as well. All right, bless y'all. I hope this has edified you guys. See you next time. Shalom!